here's the thing, right? I look at this and I'm like, there's no way, right? And we kind of referenced this in the previous video. I was talking about how Barcelona is going to be preparing 200 million euros to spend on specific players. And so let's talk about that, right? Because it says here, Joan Laporta thinks Barcelona will have 200 million euros to spend this summer. And then you can see here, the club has four main targets. Now it says here, Barcelona president Joan Laporta has briefed reporters that he is hoping the club will have around 200 million euros to spend this summer on transfers, right? So if you guys are kind of like skeptical and you guys are like, no, I don't think this is true, Kevin, this might be fake. It's all like narratives that people just want to make stories because right now the transfer window is hot and blah, blah, blah. Earlier today, Joan Laporta basically confirmed that yes, Barcelona are looking to make big moves. I do not know if he did not say exactly 200 million euros, but he is saying that players right now are waiting for Barcelona to have that financial gain, right? In order for this club, Barcelona, to afford those players. Those players are willing to wait for that club. And so let me explain what I do mean by that, right? So let me go to here, right? I just posted this on Twitter, and this is what Joan Laporta had to say. We are heavily working on new signings, right? And this is very recent. This is what we said. We are heavily working on new signings. Lucky for us, the players are willing to wait for us to activate the second lever. Now, what does that tell us, right? It's basically saying, right, Joan Laporta is basically saying that there are players out there that we are targeting that are willing to wait for us to have that financial gain, to get injected that extra 200 to the 250 million euros in order for us to afford those players, right? Those four players that we have been mainly talking about, it has been Koundé, it has been Lewandowski, it has been who's the other one? Bernardo Silva, and the other one has been Rafinha. Four players, four big time players that I think is going to be blockbuster hits. Like, this is not just us like finding any random player from West Ham or like some random player from Leganés or like some random player from Lazio. This is us going for the big bang, right? Like, we're over here trying to make these blockbuster hits, these blockbuster moves that the world is going to be talking about. And everyone's going to be saying, where the heck did Barcelona get all this money? Were they not claimed to have like 1 billion euros in debt? Weren't they like considered as that broke club where they couldn't buy any players at all? Like, they only had to rely on free transfers. This is the reason why I say that this is going to be blockbuster hits, because not only are we going to be gaining four players, but we're going to be also showing towards the world, right? All of these other different fans from around the world that Barcelona is back, that Barcelona can afford players such as Lewandowski, Koundé, Bernardo Silva, and Rafinha, right? These are not free transfers. These are players that we have to pay for. So it's like, like, even for us, we follow Barcelona every day and we're like, where the heck did they get all this money? Like, yes, they made these deals, right? They sold certain assets, but the fact that Barcelona were able to get in this position so quickly, right? Joan Laporta has been the president of this club for like a year and like 2 or 3 months. So quickly, right? Many were speculating that Barcelona were going to be able to be in a financial position like this, to make moves like this in about 4 or 5 years. But seeing that they have done it within a span of like 1 year, that is what surprises the most, because everyone expected Barcelona to come into this transfer window and say, oh, it's that broke club. It's that club that can't afford nobody. They can only afford like free transfers and they can barely fit wages within their wage cap and blah, 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 right? So it's such huge news for this club. Like, the amount of experience that Joan Laporta has is what surprises me the most. Like, only him, right? Only he can bring Barcelona back into this financial position. He has the experience. He knows what it takes to bring a club into its best version financially and economically and sportingly, and you know what I mean, right? Because Joan Laporta has been in situations like this before. Like, if you follow Laporta since like 1998 or like 2002, like if you were watching soccer in 1998 and 2001, 2002, when you saw Joan Laporta for the first time become the president of FC Barcelona, you know, right? And I'm speaking for the people who are like 30 years old right now. I'm not speaking to the people who are like 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 years old. I'm speaking to the people who are 30 years old. You have seen Joan Laporta be in a position like this, right? Back in 2003 or 2002, he came into this Barcelona team, this club back in 2003, where he saw this club so financially broken, so economically broken, and Laporta is doing the exact same thing like how he did back in 2003. He brought that Barcelona club back in 2003 and reformed them and made them become a very competitive team, and that is why they won the Champions League 2 or 3 years later, right? Laporta is doing he's repeating history now. He's doing this again in 2022, and it's crazy because like it's kind of like you also have to wonder, right? Like, what were the socios thinking? Like, why did the socios choose Bartomeu over Joan Laporta back in 2015? Like, did you not see what Laporta did 20 years ago, right? That's something that I always question coming from the socios, right? Like, why did you deny Joan Laporta 6 years ago, 7 years ago? What was the reason for that when he has shown proof that he was able to bring a broken a Barcelona team that was not competitive at all, and brought them to its best version by bringing Ronaldinho, by bringing Rafa Marquez, by bringing all of these players, Deco, right? And they denied him back in 2015 and brought in Bartomeu. And now seeing Joan Laporta get elected in 2021 and seeing him come back in this way, it's like one huge slap to the face. Like, yes, you made a mistake, and here's the proof, right? So I'm kind of like all over the place right now because it's just like, wow. Like, I know that we haven't completed these transfers, but I'm very much looking forward towards Barcelona doing so because I have a lot of belief that they can. Right, I have a lot of belief that they can because of what Laporta said. He literally said here that he said we are heavily working on new signings, and lucky for us, because we are like one of the best clubs in the world, one of the most attractive clubs in the world, the players are willing to wait for us to activate the second lever. Koundé is willing to wait for Barcelona and not go to Chelsea just so he can complete his move and become a Barcelona player. Lewandowski is willing to wait for FC Barcelona, right? And not go to like a different club. Bernardo Silva does not want to continue at City, right? Even though he has everything there with Pep Guardiola, has one of the best sporting directors in the world, is the richest club in the world. They've been going to the semifinals, going into the quarterfinals consistently every year, but he's still willing to push off City to go to FC Barcelona, right? It's just the amount of leverage this Barcelona team has, this club. It's so phenomenal. It is so massive. Like, I can't believe it, right? So going back to this, right? If you guys just got here, this is basically what we're talking about. Laporta thinks Barcelona will have 200 million to spend this summer. I do think that Joan Laporta will have that 200 million euros. Like, that's second. This greatly does correlate to what Joan Laporta did say earlier, like 2 or 3 hours ago, right? Having 200 million euros to spend on transfers, that is a lot. And I think that with 200 million euros, that is enough, my friends, for Barcelona to afford those 4 players that they want, right? We talked about this in the previous video. Let me go back to the comments real quick because I like to check it every now and then, just in case there's like some sort of like technical errors. And I know that you guys would tell me first. Okay. So everyone can hear me. Everything's good, right? Everything good quality. Everything's good, right? Before I continue, everything's good. Cool. All right, cool. So far, so good. All right, awesome. I want to make sure that the connection is well. You guys can hear me. All right, cool. I see it. I see your guys' comments. All right, so going back, where were we at? Okay. So like I said, we're gonna go here. Right. So 200 million euros. if we're talking about look, 200 million euros is enough. If you guys think that that is not enough, it is enough, because like I've said in the previous video, let's talk about worst case scenario. Let's talk about, if let's assume Barcelona pay the most, they pay the most for those four players, right? So like Barcelona just get completely outclassed in negotiations, we have to pay maximum for every player. Bernardo Silva, right, is going to be costing around 80 million euros. I want to make sure that I get this the math correctly, right? 80 million euros, Bernardo Silva. Okay. Kunde most likely is going to be costing, let's assume, worst case scenario, 55 million euros. Okay. Lewandowski, worst case scenario, we pay the 50 million euros, which is what Bayern Munich does want. Rafinha, right now we have a what was it again? It was like 50 million euros plus 10 million euros in bonuses. So let's just say 50 million euros flat, because we're not going to be paying that 10 million euros in bonuses unless Rafinha meets like certain targets. So let's just assume that we're not going to be paying that, right? Let's just say 50 million euros, right? The 10 million euros come later, after the season is over, the season that we're coming into. So we add all that together. We get 5, 8, 13, 13, 18. Okay, so someone did not remind me that I'm really bad at math. Okay, so 1, 3, 15. 15 plus 8. Okay. And then 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 235 million euros. This is worst case scenario. 235 million euros. Barcelona will be able to have 200 million euros, right, in player transfers. And remember, we're not even counting the sales that Barcelona might potentially make. We might potentially sell Memphis Depay. We might potentially sell players like Ricky Puig, Mingueza, and so many other players. So I think that we will have enough funds to completely fund these four players. And again, this is worst case scenario. Like, we might pay cheaper for these players and just spend maybe around 100, 190, 195 million euros and have an extra 5 million euros in the club. So it is so possible, my friends, and that makes me very excited. If you guys are like wondering, right, just to give you guys like a quick recap of how I would assume the starting 11 would look like if we complete these four transfers. Okay, so look, the defensive line is very easy. I would say Jordi Alba, Dest, Kunde, and Araujo. Set starters. For the midfield, assuming that Bernardo Silva does enter this club, okay? It's going to be Busquets, Pedri, and Bernardo Silva. That type of midfield, guys, that is Champions League midfield. That is a midfield that you cannot mess around with. And then you have players like Gavi, like Kessie, like Pablo Torre, backing those three players in case any of those three players do get injured. So it is a world-class midfield. The amount of technique, the amount of power Pedri and Bernardo Silva are going to be bringing in as interiors, amazing, world-class, okay? And then when it comes to the front three, we should expect to see Ansu Fati on the left, Lewandowski as the striker, and I'm assuming, right, I'm just going to assume that, it's hard because we're going to be talking about this later down within this video when it comes to Dembele, but I'm going to assume that Dembele does renew, because we do have great news when it comes to Dembele. For those of you guys who are Dembele fans, Dembele might actually renew because there is no other option. But again, we're going to be talking about that later in this video. So I'm going to assume that Dembele does renew, and I'm going to just say that Dembele will be that starter on that right side over Rafinha. But that does not mean that we're not going to be seeing Rafinha like at all. Like, I'm not saying that Rafinha is only going to be seeing 10 to 20% of the minutes through the season. I do think that Xavi Hernandez is going to want to heavily rotate Dembele and Rafinha, and especially knowing that that Dembele is an injury prone, right? We don't want to overuse this player. It's never good to have Dembele play a full season and playing like 99% of the time. Look at what happened with Pedri, right? Look at the second season. He rarely showed up because we overused that player in his first season in Barcelona. So it makes a lot of sense to heavily rotate Rafinha and Dembele on the right side, but I do think that in the end, Dembele will be that starter. So that would be my ideal starting 11, and of course, having Ter Stegen in goal. So this is something that, again, I'm very much looking forward to. You guys should be very excited, right? When that second lever does get injected, when they finally agree on that, we should expect to see a lot of movements. And I'm going to be here to talk about that in this YouTube channel. So if you guys do not If you guys are not subscribed to the channel, make sure you do subscribe because we are going to be over analyzing the hell out of these four players that might potentially come to FC Barcelona. So